Here's a conversation that is important for all the parents out there. If you are interested in ensuring that your child has good money habits going forward, you will possibly have to fix certain habits that you have yourselves. To talk about this and to tell you what could possibly be the right approach is Soneera Sanghvi, who's a writer and she's the author of the book Piggybank to Portfolio. Thank you so much, Soneera, for taking the time. First of all, I'd like to ask whether, in your experience and in the research that you have done, uh, parents' behavior and the way that they interact with money influences the way that children perceive money, not just at that age, but over the course of their transition to adult life.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we talk about, social media and influencers and the kind of negative impact they have on our children. But what we don't realize is that parents are the number one influencers when it comes to their children and how they perceive money, how they react to money, how they spend money, even how they save and invest money. And one of the things that we talk about in the book and also what has come across in the research is children will do what you do, not what you say. So you can give them all the advice in the world that's, oh, you should save, and oh, money is not everything, and brands are not what define you. But if that's how you behave, if you are focused on brands and they see you spending lavishly, they see you buying branded things, then that's the message that's getting through to them, not what you say. So absolutely, everything that parents do, role modeling, that's the number one influence on a child's life when it comes to their money.
So, Neera, for me growing up, and I grew up in Pune, the availability of things was one of the factors that was a big influence on me, right? Because it didn't matter whether or not my parents had the money. The fact was that there wasn't really anything much to buy. No, at least if you compare it to what is available today. Is that a bigger challenge, do you think, for parents then?
Uh, for sure. I mean, we talk about delayed gratification, and like you said, things simply weren't available. Now there's availability and there's a lack of delayed gratification because it's not just that the kids have access to a lot more things, it's how quick that access is, right? So it doesn't even have to be big things. It's something as simple as you feel like a pizza, you open your phone, you click a few buttons, and boom, there's a pizza at your doorstep in 30 minutes. And so, we talk about delayed gratification as one of the most prime sort of founding stones of a child's attitude towards money. And this starts as early as age 7. And what this does is it affects your child's ability to resist temptation. And I find that especially in this day and age of digital currency where they're not actually spending that money, they're not taking it out of their wallet and handing it over to someone and feeling that pinch of watching it go from your hands physically. And like you said, availability, these two are such huge factors when it comes to children and their ability to say no or resist temptation or resist the urge to spend and buy things, without putting too much thought into it. And that's one of the things we focus on a lot is we say, teach your child to pause, just take a pause before you buy something. Do you really want it? Do you really need it? And, is this something that you're going to use later on? Is this something that's going to make you happy, not just now, but even, a few months from now, maybe not for the pizza, but what I mean for the bigger purchases. Is this something that's going to actually change your point of view on things?
But
It's absolutely necessary.
Soneera, this relates to the interaction that you have with your child, and so you're trying to ask your child to think about certain things. But I also want you to comment on the perspective from the parents' angle, because I've come across a few people who have children in very young classes in certain schools in metropolitan cities, and there is the tendency of some of their peers to spend a large amount of money, for example, on a birthday. And you have a certain amount of money that is spent on return gifts. Is that creating then a significant amount of pressure on the parents of children to replicate that so that the child does not feel hard done by or feel less than their peers?
I mean, this is an age-old problem, right? So there's always going to be some sort of peer pressure, whether it's with birthday parties or whether it's the backpack that you carry or the bottle that you're using in school, and it starts really young. I mean, it starts as early as as soon as kids start going to other people's houses and seeing things that they don't have. Uh, the the answer to this is, I mean, yes, for sure, parents feel it, and I'm sure this is a worldwide problem, not just an Indian problem. But the essence to this is to constantly communicate with your child and talk to them about, for example, if you can't afford the lavish party or if you don't want to have a lavish party, a lot of times, it's also about your values. So you may be able to afford it, but you think it's wrong to spend that much. So you sit down with your child and you say, these are our priorities as a family. So we're not going to be able to spend so much on a birthday, or maybe we can spend so much on a birthday, but we don't think that this is right because we value experiences over materialism, or we are saving up to buy a car, or we're saving up to buy another place, or we're saving up to buy our own house, whatever that may be, right? But the focus on this is communication and clarity when it comes to your children. So these are not one-time conversations. This is something that you constantly need to reinforce with your child, saying, hey, we cannot have a lavish party because so-and-so. Yes, one time, but also constantly talk to them about what your values are as a family, what your values are when it comes to money, that as a family, we prioritize education over, material things, and therefore we would rather spend this money on so and so thing instead of this. Also, the other thing is there's a pull and push here, right? So it can't always be exactly how the parents want it to. I mean, kids are kids and there will always be peer pressure. So at some point, maybe parents can compromise a little bit to give in, whether it's they may not approve of their children going to Starbucks or wherever it may be, multiple times a week, but they can also make leeway to do it once in a while. And of course, that's the balance and a compromise that every family has to find for themselves. But again, the stress is on communication. And this is something we spoke to a lot of therapists and psychiatrists about. And it's the one thing that they said as well is constantly communicate with your child on what your values are and role model them. So again, going back to what I said, if you communicate that and you're doing something else, that your child is not going to believe what you say. They're just going to see what you do.
Okay, how important is consistency then? Because you have to, and I'll tell you what, I'll give you an example. I know of a mother of three, and her oldest is now 18. Youngest is 7 years old. But for all three of them, it's not like she didn't have the money, but for all the birthday parties that occurred, she made it a point to say that I will gift household items. And it became kind of a running joke where over the years, the parents of the oldest kid came to the party to say, I'm going to carry back a bed sheet or a soap or something. It was a joke, but it was accepted over a period of time. And I don't think that the kids are any worse for it. Do you think that that's the kind of approach that some people have if they want to have that value system, though?
Yes, I mean, if you do something and it sticks and your child understands where you're coming from, then there's nothing like it, right? I mean, I'll speak personally. I, for my son's birthday, said no return gifts and no presents. And I actually sat my child down and I said, we have everything that you need. We have more than what you need, in fact, because 7-year-olds have so much stuff.
Yeah.
And I said, whatever toys come, do you really need any of it? We're blessed to have enough. Is it okay if we say no? And, also with the return gift, the idea was to just reduce waste, right? Because no one needs another crayon set or whatever that may be. And I've seen different parents do different things. People give plants, people give, household items, like you said. But again, it goes back to what I talk about, and it sounds like I'm repeating, but it's leading by example, it's role modeling, and it's uh, communication with your child. So you can't have no birthday gift, no return gift policy for your child, and then have a party for yourself where people are gifting things. So, you sort of lead by example and you do it consistently, like you said, because consistency is the most important thing. And again, that also goes across everything, right? So even when it comes to pocket money, or even when it comes to rewarding your children, or not rewarding your children, you can't say, here's pocket money one day and then not give pocket money again for 2 months. So everything is always about consistency, and all money conversations are also about consistency and maintaining the same ground, especially husband and wife.
Yeah.
We have this lot where the one partner will be frugal and one partner will be lavish, and parents really need to be on the same page for the message to get across.
Particularly in terms of giving of rewards, right? Especially there, because then there is a tendency, or mom didn't say, yes, I'll go to dad and I'll get the money. But
Yeah.
I want to talk about the reward system as well. You mentioned rewards. Is that, and it has been used so widely, but is it as simple as that to incentivize good behavior with good things, with things that the kid wants?
So there are different points of view on this. I personally am of the belief system that there are certain tasks in the house, there are certain chores in the house that I call basic. If your child is doing this, they are not to be given a reward. If they're picking up their own dishes, if they're cleaning up after themselves, putting back their toys, these are just things that you do as a functioning member of the household. And you don't want to create a sense of entitlement where they feel like they should be rewarded for just doing what they should be doing anyway. So I say no for that. But anything over and above that, right? So you're expected to get good grades, that's basic. But if you do come first in class, for example, or you've done really well, or you've won a trophy, or if your kid's good at chess and they've won the tournament, then that is something that you can definitely set aside rewards for and set aside incentives for. And I mean, incentives work, right? Like that's why they exist, and that's why they've been a tried and tested thing. So for sure, incentivize good behavior. Just don't incentivize what should be normal behavior.
Um, does it get challenging though? And I'm sure that you've interacted with older children and parents of older children. They start formulating their own worldview as early as 10, maybe even earlier now. It's far earlier than we did, certainly. I guess it's because of the amount of information that they have available. Should the strategy then change and the approach then change? How soon would you say that kids should be spoken to as adults when it comes to money?
So again, it depends on your child, and just every family is different. But kids learn about money, and they realize concepts such as money, and that things cost money, things are expensive, or things are not expensive, for example, very early, by age 6 or 7. And so, we definitely say that start talking to your kids about money as early as age 7. By the time they're in grade 1, or first standard, start giving them pocket money, and not just giving them pocket money, but also within that teaching them the concept of saving, spending, and giving. So start these conversations early on. I often talk about how my parents talk to me in vague terms about saving is good, giving is good, but didn't actually enforce that. And so when I started earning money, I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know where to save it or how to save it and all of that. So if these conversations can happen very early on, and if you can incentivize it, which goes back to what we were talking about, where you say, save 50% or 30% of your pocket money and I'll match it, or I'll pay you interest for it, then they're very, very small things, because it doesn't have to be a big amount of money, right? It can be 20 rupees, it can be 50 rupees. But kids learn those concepts really easy then when it's broken down and it's consistent over a period of time. So, they learn interest and how important it is to put money where it's earning interest, and the concept of passive income. They'll realize that parents want you to save, if they're matching your savings, and all of that. And also, again, if you talk to them about giving and the importance of giving back, and again, this goes back to what I was talking about, where if you role model gratitude and you role model how blessed we are to have this life, and therefore the importance of giving back, then that also really helps with kids understanding the value of money.
That completely makes sense. I'm sure that a lot of people tuning in will have thoughts about this, feedback about this. I would encourage all of them to write to us, and of course this will be available on social media as well. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thank you so much for having me.